Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Phantom. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have our higher time frame video up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so within our two counts, what we are looking for is the potential that we could be looking to see a C wave to the upside, where we are looking for this 1-to-1 here of this 84 cents. Now this would be relying on holding this low over here, and ideally I'd want to continue to hold this low that we have over here where we came down to the 786. Now technically speaking, it is possible to see one more push to the downside here, but if we start to lose this 2017 level, it becomes very unlikely that we're going to see this continuation to the upside in this C wave. So now within this, we need to be also aware there is the more bearish case where we're actually looking for the potential that this whole move here could be W, X, and Y for an A wave, and we're looking for this as a B and a C. Now as a B wave, technically speaking, we could have completed already into this high here. The problem I have with it is if we're looking at this as a B wave, the time relationship isn't really great. So I'm still on the lookout here that what we could get is a 3-wave move to the upside, in which case we would be looking for this potential rejection between 32.75 and this 51.55. So if we only get 3 waves up here, we need to just be cautious of that idea of still having this as a C wave down. So that's within our higher degree counts. If you want more information about that, make sure you watch that macro video pinned at the start. If we are looking at this idea of whether we are either going to see this develop as ABC or alternatively a bigger push to the upside here, what we are looking for is something along these lines. So we're just going to remove that count for a second and we're going to go in a bit more detail here. So within our bullish count, what we were saying is that we could have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up into this high here, effectively looking at this then as a bigger corrective move for the C wave. Now we have come down to this 0.786 and this 854, which is making me not want to really lose this zone again. If we start to lose this low, it becomes less likely that we're going to still hold this support here, and we're going to be looking at potentially one of our more bearish options. Now if we are looking at this potential where this could be 1 and 2, what we need to see for confirmation is a move up towards this 46.32 until we actually start to see impulsive structure developing up here nice and clean. We need to be careful of that more bearish situation. Now if we are looking at the internals of this lower end here, saying that we are potentially completed into this low, what we would be saying is that this could be our wave 1. We're looking at this as an A, B, and a C here. For this as a wave 2, and effectively what we want to see here then is a 3rd wave to the upside developing. Now given this current low that we've got here, that would be this 27.76. If we do see price develop to the upside in this way, where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, what we'd then be looking for is how we react afterwards. If we just get 3 waves to the downside, then we can potentially look for continuation. If we start to get a 5-wave move to the downside, this would not be a good sign and would potentially indicate that we could start to see this break down. Now the problem that we'd have is that if we get 5 waves up here, the only way that this could still be a corrective move is we'd have to say that this was A, B, and then we would have been looking for this as a C wave, something like a flat in this area. So we're going to go over this idea later on in the video, but effectively that is what we'd want to see. If we want to see an impulse and we want to see price looking to trend, we need to see 3 waves down, hold this support, and then look to push away from that point. Now coming in here and having a look at this move, what I was looking at is that this is potentially an A wave, this is a B wave as a triangle, and then we have the C wave down. Now it is also possible that within this count, this could be W, this could be X, and this could be A, B, and then C. So we need to be on the lookout for that potential as well, in which case what we'd be saying is we could be looking for something along these lines, where we're looking for a bigger WXY. Now our 1-to-1 of our Y wave would actually be here at this 23.15, and that would also align with the 1-to-1 area here of this as A, B, and then C to the downside. What we'd be saying here within this count then is that we want to see an additional push to the downside here, looking for a 5-wave structure. Now there is another way of actually looking at this as well. What we could also argue is that within this count here, we have this as a wave, we're looking for a B, and then we're looking for a C, something like this. So if we are completed into this low as either a W or an A wave, we could get a 3-wave move up and then either another 3-wave move down or a 5-wave move down. Still looking at this as a corrective move. So what we need to be on the lookout for here is that if we actually hold this low here, what we could see is price could form something along these lines where we see a 3-wave move to the upside and possibly look to test out this zone of this 24.74 to this 24.27. If we do see something along those lines, what we would be looking for is a possible target if we're going to get that push to the upside and we are still within an X wave here. What we'd then be looking for effectively would be towards us 24.62. So this would be an interesting level given our current low here, where we see price come back up into some of these high points, which would also align with the 702 retracement. If we do look to push up a little bit higher here, this 24.74 is obviously going to have some confluence here with some of these highs, these swing highs that we've got. So going to be watching out for that idea that if we do see price do something like this as ABC, then we could look for that price action to continue to fall after that point, and that could then mean that effectively what we have here is that this W wave is lowered down here, this X wave is still in play, and then we still see this Y wave play out at a later point. But at the moment, what I want to see here is if we fail to actually continue to push up here and we actually get more continuation to the downside, whether we actually see a pushback down towards these lower levels, these would align with coming back down here towards this 854, which would be sitting here at this 23.22, and the 786 would also be here towards this 23.37. So we'll be watching those levels if we do see price come down here one more time. Though if we start to lose this zone, then it becomes very likely we're going to invalidate. So we need to just be on the lookout for that within this bullish count. Now, if we do see something like this, we could then argue that we either see a 3-wave move where we get a push up towards this 26.25, or alternatively, if this is going to trend, we're looking for this 1618. So that's looking for that possibility of a breakout. Now, if we just see a corrective move to the upside like this, we need to be very careful because that could actually indicate we see further downside coming in here. Now, another way we're discussing this move to the downside is we're saying that actually what we could have is that this is A, this is B, and we have this as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is an additional 4th wave here, and we're looking for a 5th wave. Now, what we were looking for this count is effectively this 1922 to this 1627. What we're also saying here is, you know, we do have this 0.618 of the wave 1 to 3, which is also sitting in this zone. But as well as that, what we do have in this area here is this 0.382 of the wave 1 to 3. Now, we've already met this requirement, so I'm just being a little bit cautious here that, you know, if we are looking at this as a 4th and a 5th, possibly we could get something like this where our 5th wave truncates. It's not very common, and typically speaking, we look to break the 3rd wave area, but sometimes these things can happen. Now, the only problem that we'd have within this count is that it would be very difficult to count this as completed into where we are. If we're looking at this as a 5-wave move, it becomes more likely that either we're getting something like this as 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to get a 4th wave and a 5th wave, something like an expanding diagonal here, or alternatively, what we are looking for is something along these lines where we have this as 1, 2, 1, 2 here, and effectively we're looking for this yellow count to confirm. Now, we haven't moved past this 1618 of this white count yet either, so we need to just be aware of that. We have moved past the 1618 of the blue count here, but it wouldn't make sense for this to have completed the 3rd wave in this way because we have too much overlap. So there's a, like I said, you know, we can count this as either a corrective move down, but if we continue to actually reject and we fail to break back above some of these key highs, what we could actually see is this move could start to extend to the downside. Now, within this area here, what I'm looking out for is 2 things. So if we do maintain this high here of this 25.09, what we could actually start to do is start to see this price action fall to the downside. Now, given the current structure here, the blue 1.618 would actually be down here towards this 20.35. So if we do see price action start to fall away here, and we start to see a move down towards this 1618 level, this would then align with the idea that this could be 1, 2, and then we're looking for this as 3, 4, 5. Now, the problem that I have is if we do see another push to the upside here, where this becomes something like this, the wave 2 previously was around the same size, so it starts to challenge that idea of this being a 1, 2, 1, 2. If we do see price actually push back up here one more time, what I'll be looking out for is this 25.41 as a possible rejection area, but anywhere between there and really where we've come up to already. So this golden pocket could be quite interesting towards this 24.99 and this 24.90 zone, and then we'd be looking for that potential of a breakdown. So if we see 3 waves up here, and we fail to break back above this high here, which is sitting towards this 2611, effectively we need to be cautious of that idea of a bigger sell-off to the downside. So this is going to be our key area we need to get above. We need to break back above these highs. But even if we do that, we need to be just a little bit careful here that we don't have something like a flat where this is A, this is B, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we push up towards this 28.33 to this 27.56. And then this actually just becomes all a bigger wave 2, where this is effectively another 1, this is 2, and then we're looking for that continuation down. So we need to be careful of that idea of something like a flat correction in this area, just because of how choppy this move is here. We can count this as 5 waves down, but we could also argue that this is just A, B, and C within this count. So we need to just be careful of that idea that if we see 5 waves up, we need to see that 3 waves down and finding support above these lows before we have confirmation of continuation. And even if we do get just a 3-wave move to the upside like this, we need to be very careful then, because that could still align with that other alternative that we were talking about, where we're looking for that B wave, saying something along these lines where we're going to get another push up here for a B. So if we do see 3 waves to the upside like this, we need to be very careful that this doesn't actually become W, X, and Y, and then we look to break down from that point. Having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that price action is actually rejected off these central lines, and we've lost this area of this 2410 to this 2402. If we do move back to the upside here, this can potentially turn into resistance, and we could see price look to be gravitated to the downside. 2340 is a level that we need to keep an eye on for today, as well as this 2281. 2217 and this 2156 as potential downside targets. Now, if we start to see price falling down towards some of these lower levels, this would actually start to imply that within here we're starting to get some extension, and then we'd have to reevaluate exactly how we are looking at this, and it would probably mean that from here we have something like a 5-wave move developing in this way. Though this wouldn't make a lot of sense if we're looking at the structure here, because the only way that we could start a 5-wave move from there would be if this is something like a triangle, but then that wouldn't fit into our count of this idea of a breakdown in a bigger way either. So we can't really have a 4th wave triangle there in that way. The way that I'm looking at this triangle is rather that this was the other way around, as A, B, C, D, E, and then we've broken down from that point. If we do manage to push back above these central lines, however, targets for today become this level here of this 2464, 2470, 2530, 2589, and this 2653 as potential upside targets. If we want to see this start to trend, what I would like to see is a break above the R1 line, which is this lower green line here, finding support, and then starting to see us interact with some of these higher levels. If we fail to get back above these lines, we need to just be careful of that bearish alternative where we see price start to break to the downside. Okay, so let's move over here and have a look at the weekly. We have new weekly CPRs printed. Okay, so what we can see here on the weekly CPR lines is that we've actually printed another lower CPR here. So this is indicating that at the moment the trend is to the downside. Now we need to see whether price confirms or rejects this idea. Now we are currently sitting below our weekly CPR lines, which are sitting here between this level of this 2432 and this 2409. If we continue to stay below this zone, effectively what we have is the potential for price to start to fall away. Downside targets for this week is this 2269. We have this level here of this 2141 and this area here of this 1989 as a potential downside target for this week. If, however, we see price reject this idea of seeing downside here and we see price move back above these and find support, what we could then see is a challenge of this area here of this 2549. We have this 2701 and this 2829 as possible targets for this week. Now this R1 line here would actually align quite nicely with that idea of seeing a 3-wave structure to the upside here. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. If we do continue to hold these lows, and particularly this one over here, we could still see price have a move to the upside here, looking to target out some of these levels. Now we're going to have a look at the monthly CPR lines here and see what these can tell us. So Our monthly CPR lines, what we can see is we are still currently below these central lines. So these obviously will get a new set of lines printed tomorrow. So they are only relevant for today, but potentially if we do see price come back down here, we'll be looking to see if we find support at this 2340. So even if we do see that ideal where we have this as WX and this is A, B, and C, potentially we could see a move back down here and look to challenge the previous day's low here at this 2349 and look to test out this monthly S1 line at this 2340. If we do see price move to the upside within this, it would be a substantial move, but effectively if we do see price move up towards this 2732, we could find resistance 2839 and this level here of this 2939 as possible resistance levels directly above us. So I'd be careful of this idea if we see price move to the upside. If we do, however, see price start to drop dramatically, 1635 would be our target for this month to the downside that we haven't met. But like I said, we're only going to have these until reset tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.